Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you might be joining from. I am HR Funk, and this is my firing line. This is the show for Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025. And otherwise, if I was not here doing this right now, I'd be out still in my pool, probably watching the clouds float by and contemplating my life choices. With me here is the lovely and talented Mimi. She is joining me for this episode. And this is the post Guncon live stream. And you can see I'm wearing my Guncon t-shirt in honor of this. And there's been a lot of information come out of Guncon over the course of the last couple of days, and I want to get into this very shortly. But I also want to recognize some of you who have chimed in early. Limp Biscuiteer was the first one here. Chris 1911 also is here very soon, or very shortly thereafter. We've got Jeff Tim with us as well, from all the way down in St. Augustine, Florida. And somewhere I saw KD Cowboy is here with us. According to the ticker, we've got 9 of you in here so far. And anyone who hasn't said hi yet, be sure to do so.
Hi.
As I said, this is the post Guncon episode of the firing line. And for anyone who doesn't know, Guncon was actually a multi-day event. It was not just the one segment on Saturday that everyone seems to know about. It started a week ago today. Last Wednesday, there was a setup day for everyone who was coming in, all of the folks from the various companies who were going to have a booth at Guncon. There was also, I think, some sort of a shotgun shoot that evening where they were shooting clay pigeons. I did not go up for that. The venue for Guncon was about an hour north of where I live, so that was very convenient for me. I was able to drive back and forth every day. And on Friday of last week, there was a range day for just the folks who were considered part of the media, which oddly enough seems to include me these days. That never ceases to make me laugh. But there were multiple companies represented on the range where we went to. And interestingly, the range that we used for range day was the same one when I was working for the security firm up in Cleveland, where we used to go to for our training. So I was very familiar with that. And oddly enough, Mimi was headed up that direction that day and was only a short distance from me. But she refused to drop me off. She made me actually walk the whole way there.
Yes. And barefoot.
Uphill, both ways.
In the snow. No jacket.
No, she actually was just a very short distance from me that day. But unfortunately, just the way things played out, we were not able to ride together. But there must have been, 25 or so different companies that were represented out there on range day. And we were able to actually talk to the various people from the different companies and see the products that they had brought with them. We were able to handle them, able to shoot them, able to ask a lot of questions. So this was actually very, very nice for all of us who were there, who were content creators from YouTube, or some of the other folks who were maybe content creators for other entities. But I want to get into that here very shortly and tell you about some of the things we saw, tell you about some of the things that I was able to handle, and also, as a result of this, some of the things that are going to be coming up on the channel very soon. I also want to get into Saturday. Saturday was the portion of Guncon that actually took place in downtown Cleveland. And there's been some information come out about that. I don't want to get too bogged down in some of the, negative commentary that's come out since then. I'll touch on that. I'll tell you sort of my take on some of it. And Mimi will be able to share her take because she was there with me as well on Saturday. She was a media person for that day too. So there's like Sean Hannity, me, and Mimi.
Yeah.
That's the hierarchy of the media.
In that order.
Yes. Well, you can be ahead of me if you want to. It can be Sean Hannity, you, and then me.
I'm looking at everyone commenting, and like no one, they're all talking to each other.
I've got to say, I was surprised when I heard that Guncon was going to be in downtown Cleveland.
Well, it wasn't really downtown. It was east of downtown.
Well, but in Cleveland. I was surprised
Yeah.
when Guncon was going to be in Cleveland. I don't think Cleveland is the most anti-gun city in the state of Ohio. I think Columbus has that title, but Cleveland is a fairly close second place. So I was a little surprised when I heard it was going to be there. The venue, as I said, we'll talk about this in a little bit. But I think before we get into all of that, I want to talk a little bit about Range Day and some of the things that went on there. Do you want to jump in here with anything? By the way, I've been doing all the talking. And
I didn't go to Range Day, so
No.
go ahead and I'll jump in when you're talking about stuff where I was present.
As I said, Range Day, there were probably 25 different manufacturers represented that day. And I got to talk to a lot of these folks. I'll start with Gideon Optics. That was not the very first company that I went to that day and saw their things and everything. But I'll start with them just because I have them at the top of the list. Some of you are familiar with Gideon Optics. I was familiar with them prior to this, but I did not have any hands-on experience with any of their products. And I was able to talk to Mike from Gideon Optics. He is the owner that a lot of you have seen in some videos of the past. And overall, I was fairly impressed with the products that I had tested. The dot optics, I don't want to say red dot optics because a lot of the ones that I looked at were green, seemed to be very good quality. I was able to do some shooting with them. They worked very well. They do have, this is going to be coming out very soon, a magnified optic, and I was able to see that actually the following day when we were in downtown Cleveland. They did not have that particular optic out on the range, but it was pretty impressive for a first-time effort at a magnified optic. So maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to get one of those in for the future or in the future for a review. Also out there that day was Pyramid air rifles, or Pyramid, let me make sure I'm getting their name right. I guess they are just Pyramid, and the card says Adventures in Recreation. But they are an air gun company, and I was able to shoot a couple of their precision air rifles, and I gotta say, this was fun. These things do not qualify as firearms, but I was shooting them, I think I started out at 10 yards and then probably took some shots at 25 yards. And they were pretty darn accurate for that distance. I had a good time. There was virtually no recoil, virtually no report from shooting them. That was fun. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get any of those. They're fairly expensive. The ones that I was shooting for air rifles were on the top side of $1,000. I take that back. The first one might have been around $800. Second one was up well above $1,000. But fun, accurate, cool to shoot. So that was a good time.
Thank you, Katie Cowboy, who said bless you to me when I sneezed.
Suck up.
Polite.
Canik was out there, and I was able to shoot 9 Prime. Now, I believe I shot that down at the gathering when I was there. That's a pretty interesting firearm. Now, I shot the MC9, the standard versions, about a year ago when they first came out, the very small ones. And I was kind of underwhelmed by them, which is odd because generally speaking, I like Canik products, but the MC9 just didn't really, I don't know, I just wasn't crazy about it. But the MC9 Prime is slightly bigger. Of course, it's got the ported barrel and slide and all that. And that was kind of interesting. So if I can get one of those in, I talked to the folks there. Maybe we'll see one of those coming up on the channel in the near future. But that was kind of cool. HK had a representative out there, and they had all kinds of stuff from HK, beginning with the CC9, their compact 9mm handgun. And they had the HK booth right in the middle of where all the rifle manufacturers were. So the targets were all set up 100 yards or more downrange. And I took the MC9 and I was shooting at a steel IPSC silhouette that was 100 yards away, and I zapped that sucker 4 out of 5 times. So for a compact handgun, that CC9 from HK is very, very accurate. And I am going to see if I can get one of those in for a review. I'd like to spend some more time with it, do some more shooting with it, and hopefully I can bring that to all of you. And who else do we have here? That one I'm going to save. Kelbies was there. Kelbies, if you're not familiar with them, they are a rifle builder. And interestingly enough, they are only about 10 or 15 minutes from where I live. I've actually been to their range before. And they started out, the business began building bench rest rifles, but now they are building highly accurate F-class style rifles and tactical style rifles. And they had one of their rifles there, chambered 4.65 Creedmoor. And I sat down there and I started to shoot that thing, and wow, I was shooting at a target. It was probably about 125 yards away, but the target was only about maybe 6 inches high by 4 inches wide, a steel target. And I zapped that thing 5 out of 5 times, and I felt like I wasn't even trying. That was just an amazingly, amazingly accurate rifle. And I talked to the folks from Kelbies. I'm planning to go up there in the near future. Maybe, if we're lucky, I'll be able to do a tour of their shop, and they might even let me borrow a few of their rifles. I can't afford to buy them, but they might let me borrow a few of their rifles to go out to their range and do some shooting. So keep an eye out for that. Ranger Point Precision was there, and they make a lot of accessories, sort of tactical accessories for lever action rifles. They had a 44 Magnum lever action that was actually a Smith & Wesson Model 1854. They had a Marlin, must have been an 1894 because it was chambered for 357/38 special. And they had a something else there that I don't remember. It was a Henry rifle. I can't remember what it was chambered for. But they had optics, they had compensators, they had all kinds of stuff on it. They were fun to shoot. They're not exactly my cup of tea, but they were a lot of fun to shoot. So that was a good time. I don't know that I'll be getting any of those in for a review, but if any of you are interested in that, like I said, it's Ranger Point Precision, and you can check out their website. And before we go on, let me just take a quick look here, make sure we don't have any comments that I'm blasting past. Limp Biscuiteer says, totally unrelated to firearms, but maybe one of you will know. I'm trying to replace my stovetop and screws. The screws just spin. They're not stripped. They just don't go in or out. I don't have the first clue. It sounds like they might not be long enough, but I don't have any idea. Rich Powers is here. Glad you made it, Rich. Marv Turner says, been intrigued by pyramids since Hootie Hoo demonstrated his new air gun. Yeah, those were cool. I was really enjoying shooting those things, and I would like to have spent more time with them. That was a lot of fun. John G is here. How you doing, John? Chip Hazard has been quiet. Technically, you lost me there.
Technical issues, question mark.
Yes. Moving on, who else do we have? Tandem Cross was there, and I got to shoot a couple of their firearms. They had a Browning Buckmark that they had completely done over with all their parts. They had a Ruger 1022 that they had done. Actually, I think the 1022 might have been all their parts. I don't know if there was anything actually from Ruger in that. Lots of fun shooting those. I don't know if I'll be getting anything from Tandem Cross, but it was a good time, and I was glad they were there. Let's see, who else do we have here?
This is the last one. Oh, no, you didn't do this one yet.
Yeah, I mentioned Canik
Oh.
with the MC9 Prime.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is the last one then.
This is the one I'm going to save this because this is when we were actually at Guncon downtown.
Okay.
So Range Day was a great time. Like I said, I was able to see a lot of the various products and talk to the various people from the different companies. And I've been to enough of these things now. I'm starting to get to know people, which is fun because I'm able to see them and talk to them. One person I didn't mention that I'll talk about here momentarily was Mark Christensen from DS Arms. They had a display there, and I shot some of the FALs that they had that they're building these days. Who else was there that I am not remembering off the top of my head? There were a couple of companies there that were building suppressors. There were companies there that were making compensators, things like that. I tried various products from them, and I've got information from them. I don't know if we'll be seeing anything from them coming up, but if so, I will certainly give them credit and mention that I originally met them at Guncon. So overall, Range Day went very, very well. Chris 1911, Tezos did not have a table there. In fact, when I saw one of the guys from SDS, what are they called these days? SDS Arms or Armament. I saw one of those guys that I know down at the gathering in South Carolina, and I told him they really should come up here, but for whatever reason, they were not present, which is unfortunate. Dan says, always great to see Mr. and Mrs. Funk. Thank you very much. Craig Benz, hi to you. And Bill 1717, good greetings to you. So that was Friday. Friday was a great time. It was very laid back. The only folks that were there were the people who actually worked for the different companies that were represented and the various media folks, including me, who were going around and trying the different products and talking to people and all that. So it was a very laid back day on on Friday. Saturday was the main Guncon event that was open to the public. Now, all of us, influential media types were able to enter the building at 9 o'clock a.m. The general public was not able to come in until 10 o'clock. Now, as I said, when I heard this was going to be in Cleveland, I was a little surprised. I think they would have probably been better off had they gone a few miles south to a different venue. Rural Ohio is much more firearms friendly than the city of Cleveland. In any case, we got there. This was hosted at the Twist Drill building in Cleveland, which is an old manufacturing facility. It's kind of a cool old building. Mimi actually found the building itself to be pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. We got there as everyone was just going in and setting up. We took the back staircase up. And there were probably, what would you say?
Probably what? What are we talking
30 about? Different companies, 25, 30 companies represented there.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And then they had a room with the GOA, the NRA, and another group whose name escapes me, and they were sort of off, separated from everybody else.
But as I was looking around, it struck me that there was not a lot of room there. And there was a large area that was taken up with seats that had been positioned and a dais and a table up there for a panel discussion, all that kind of thing. That was taking up probably, I'm going to say 25% of the room that we were in. But at the time when we first walked in, everything was very empty.
Well, there were some vendors that were still setting up.
Yeah.
quite a bit. Some were done. And I did not realize the general public was allowed in. So when we first walked in, I didn't think anything of the space. It was cool. It's industrial. You know, they still had some of the features from when it used to be a manufacturing facility. So they did weddings there. So it's an event venue. And then,
but as we were walking around, it was kind of cool at that particular point because some of the people that I know, I was able to introduce Mimi to. We saw the folks from OpticsPlanet there. Derek Wild was there, who's the main person that I work with through OpticsPlanet. Chris Johnson, I believe is his last name, also was there from OpticsPlanet. So that was cool. They were actually doing photos. They had a green screen set up, and you could sit there, and they had a mock RPG and all kinds of different things with people to get photos taken. I was trying to get Mimi to get a photo taken, but she never made it there.
Well, by the time I got there was a very long line.
Yes.
You also had to wear like a helmet with the infrared, the night vision, that kind of thing.
So we made a lap around there, and we talked to various people. Some of the folks that I'd seen on the range the day before. X-Star was there, and I believe I'm going to be getting an X-Star EP9 in the near future. If you're not familiar with that, it is a very lightweight, mostly polymer. It's a brace pistol, but it's got that look sort of like the CZ Scorpion or something along those lines. Very, very cool. I was able to shoot one the day before when we were out at the range. So keep an eye out for that. That should be fun. As I said, Mark Christensen from DS Arms was there. Mimi was able to meet him, and he was regaling us with a lot of just very, very cool, very interesting stories that he has regarding the FAL rifle and the fact that DS Arms is the only company in the world right now making that particular rifle. And he was talking about going to a lot of countries in South America and places like that, and doing maintenance on the rifles and sort of the history and usage of that platform.
Yeah, a lot of the history of both the rifle and who manufactured it and who used it and what countries are not spending enough money on armament and faking it and they won't make it. But he was fascinating to listen to because he was he knew all this stuff right off the top of his head.
And I'm hoping.
And by the way, it was very warm in there because there was no air conditioning. So as we're trying to talk to Mark, who's a great guy and rather soft-spoken, there's an enormous industrial fan on the floor over there blowing on us. So my hair's blowing, and I'm trying to listen to him, but it's kind of hard to listen to him. And then there was a fan in another part of the room. But it's important to note that there was no air conditioning in that space, and the windows weren't open.
And I thought of something I was going to say during all that. I don't remember what it was. But I know what I was going to say. I am hoping to get Mark on as a guest on the live stream in the future. I would love to bring him on here and be able to have him talk about some of these things so all of you could hear it. So if I can ever put that together, it seems like, and I've tried it in the past, it seems like I'll email him and he's not available that day, or I can't do it a different day or something. But sooner or later, I'm going to get Mark on here as a guest, and I think you're all going to enjoy that. We talked to, let me get his card here, Jared Hunter, who works with Wheeler Engineering, and they had some really cool new things that are coming around, including a new scope mounting system for leveling the scope and bore sighting it and all that. I was really, really impressed by that. And when he showed it to us and showed it how it worked, for somebody like me who is constantly mounting and changing and remounting and whatever optics, this thing is a major, major time saver. I don't think it's going to be available until the fall. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get one in very soon thereafter to be able to show all of you, because any of you who do a lot of scope mounting, I think are going to find this product very, very, very helpful. There was also a young guy there from Derya Arms, and he actually recognized me, and I did not see them on the range the day before, but he recognized me from the video review I did about a year ago of the Derya Malik, which was their Beretta 92 clone, which was really a nice handgun. And the only reason I didn't hold on to that thing is because I've already got two actual Berettas, so I didn't need the Derya, but it was a very, very nice handgun in its own right, and it was significantly less expensive than the Beretta. But Derya also has some poly striker handguns, and I would like to get one of those. The most recent one to come out is the one I think they call their Island DY9 Island barrel, or something along those lines. So named because there is a portion of the barrel that fits inside the slide like an island, and it is ported, so it holds down, muzzle flip, and all that. So I was very much enjoying talking to that young man. They have a facility in Florida these days, so hopefully I can get some more Derya firearms in. And they also make a AR pattern shotgun, and there was another long gun they had on the table there, and I can't remember what it was. I'm not sure what it was chambered for.
What did Rabbi said? Did Bold and Curious try to follow you home from Guncon?
No, but I did finally meet him. Val from Bald and who is Bald and Curious.
Is it Bald?
Bald. It should be Bald. Yeah, good guy. You know, I've sort of followed him and his channel. He's chimed in on live streams before. I've tried to chime in on his live streams. Finally met him. Nice guy. Drove all the way from New York to make it here for Guncon. So, Val, if you see this, it was great talking to you. Hope to see you again in the near future.
There's some people on there who don't know who I am.
For anyone who doesn't know, this is Mimi. She is my better half.
And God bless y'all. I am not Mrs. Funk. I'm Mrs. Moore. You can call me Mrs. Funk. That's fine. But my actual last name is Moore. But hi.
Don't call me Mr. Moore.
Which he gets called all the time. So that's who his guest is. All right, go ahead.
I forget where I was now.
I do too.
Is that Mrs. HR? Yes, that is Mrs. HR. Mrs. HR Funk. I'm going to put that on the mailbox. Mr. and Mrs. Chief Howard R. Funk, retired.
Any mail that comes in for Mrs. Howard Funk, I give to him. It's obviously not. You were talking about Val. Val is a really good-hearted person. It's Rabbi wrote. So you were talking about Val. If you lost your train of thought, that's where you were.
No, I think I'd finished that.
Okay.
I really enjoyed talking to him. Enjoyed finally meeting him. Good guy. He actually, I guess, lives all the way on the other side of New York, almost to Connecticut. So drove all the way over here for Guncon. So it was great to finally meet him. So I think, I'm trying to think if I missed anybody in all that. I don't think I did. So in that hour between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock last Saturday, we really had a good time. It was great talking to everybody, great looking at all the products and everything, up until the point that the general public was able to come in. Now, I'm not criticizing the general public, so don't take it that way.
But I will say this: it was a little annoying with the other content creators, like camping out at a table for long stretches of time, which made it really difficult to be able to look at the products and talk to people. And some of them had a camera person, which I respect their gig, what they're doing. But
thank you, Rabbi.
Well, thanks.
For the memester.
I see that. Anyway, so that was a little annoying, and there were a lot of them. And we got there at what, 9:02?
Or early. I mean, we were there about at the stroke of 9 o'clock.
Yeah. So the first 20 or 30 minutes was really probably optimum, and then more and more creators showed up and whatever, and so I was getting a little bit annoyed because some of them had backpacks and they were big guys with a giant backpack, and I was kind of getting whacked with the backpack, which didn't make me happy. So
I cannot read your name, but regarding how many lever guns I own, I have 3 plus one that Mimi claims, but it's actually mine.
It's both of ours. We bought it with the wedding money, and it'll become mine if you keep that up.
But one quick thing, if I can roll the clock back a little bit, it was probably
Don't be exact. It was after
9:20-ish, and we were walking by one of the rooms there. I didn't know what this room was actually being used for. A small room kind of off to the side.
Turned out to be the green room for the panelists.
And we actually saw Johnny B in there, and I know it was him because he was wearing the same Stars and Stripes bib overalls that he had on later on when he produced his video. And that was apparently, I'm guessing, when he was getting the word that he was not going to be able to stay there any longer.
Yeah, or just gotten the word. He was standing up, and he's a big guy, and he's gesturing and all kinds of stuff. So, anyway.
So of course, we did not have any idea what was going on at that time. Didn't find out actually, I think, until I got home later on that evening, and I was looking at something on YouTube, and I started to see these videos that have been put up by him and Legally Armed America, and then I found out, of course, the Missouri Attorney General had also been banned from the building. I don't really know any more about that than what has been put out there thus far. It sounds like the building is owned by a Canadian business, yes. And somehow or other, they found out that the Missouri Attorney General and Johnny B and Legally Armed America were going to be there, and that was not something they wanted in their building, and they contacted whoever was in charge of Guncon and passed that word along that they did not want them on their premises.
No, Rabbi said it's a shame he experienced that humiliation. I will say that it was not a big scene. Nobody escorted him out. We didn't know.
Well, that we know of.
Well, we were there. There was not, I mean, maybe it's embarrassing that he had to leave at that moment, but I can tell you that 99% of the people had no idea what was going on at that point. And so he's the one who broadcasted. And so whatever humiliation happened after the fact, he brought on himself.
But this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier with regard to just being a little surprised that this was being held in Cleveland. And I'm not really being critical of the folks that put on Guncon or anything like that. I just was kind of surprised by the choice of venue. But anyway, back to the story. So 10 o'clock comes around, and the general public starts to come in, and it got crowded and more crowded and more crowded and more, to the point that it was almost impossible to walk around in this space. It was getting hot in there. We sat down and we were trying to listen to the panel discussion that started at, I think, 11 o'clock.
Well, it was supposed to start at 11. It didn't start till 10 or 15 minutes after.
And it was almost impossible to hear what was being said. We couldn't hear, at least I couldn't hear anything as far as questions from the folks that were out in the audience.
They had a microphone set up to one side, off the stage, but to one side. Some people could understand that because one woman asked a question, a bunch of people applauded. I could hear the sounds. I couldn't make out what they were saying. Although the one lawyer that was sitting up there, oddly, he was the one I couldn't hear the most because he didn't have his mouth up to the microphone. So that whole experience was just super unpleasant. Not to mention the fact there's some really big guys there, really big guys that were very sweaty, made them a little bit smelly. And honestly, that was unpleasant.
So we stayed around until noon-ish and then decided to make our way out just to basically get some fresh air. And when we walked out of the building, now at that point, it was absolutely packed inside of this
wall to
room.
wall.
And the line went out the door and down the street and around the corner with people that were waiting to get in. And basically, they were not able to let anyone else come in until people left. And the fire marshal was there. And apparently, there had been a concern with the number of people in there. And I feel bad for all the people that were waiting out there. I don't know if anyone or if everyone eventually even got in or not. But
Ben, I don't mind if men get sweaty. And sweaty, listen, I played pickup basketball for a number of years against lots of people. And we played shirts and skins. And ha ha ha, Mimi, you're going to be on the skins team. Ha ha ha. I've been up against sweaty male bodies playing basketball.
so did you play skins?
No. So don't go anywhere with that. And if somebody smells a little bit, that happens. But we were packed. It was crowded.
Yeah.
His ego took the space before. I bet that's true.
Yeah. And it got hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was no air conditioning in there as best I could tell. And they did have some fans set up. But
with that mass of people, those fans were going to stop at like the first two waves of people. So they may have been really cool, but no one beyond them. And it was hot outside, and maybe that's what you were getting at. It was, low to mid 80s?
Yeah, probably.
And in Cleveland, that's hot. Not where I'm from, but in Cleveland, that's hot. Sun's baking down. They're standing on sidewalks when they were waiting in line. And we all had lanyards. So we had creator lanyards and then the blue attendee that's how we knew who they were. But I stopped and talked to one guy and said, all these people are not going to fit upstairs.
Rabbi wants to know if you're up for a game.
And if you want to be embarrassed, Rabbi, you can dial that up. And he said, well, I know the fire marshal's here, and he had organizer lanyard. So he said, yeah, this is getting to be a real problem. And what were they charging people to get in there?
$50.
$50 a pop. So
the moral of the story was we went back to the Jeep and cranked up the air conditioner and sat in there for a while and decided it was probably time to leave. So we ended up leaving, I don't know, it's probably 1 o'clock or
it was
so.
Like 12 or 12:30.
Okay.
And it went till 8.
Yeah.
8 p.m. It had 8 more hours.
So overall, I enjoyed, I guess, 75% of Guncon. I thought that it was productive. I really liked the range day. I liked that first hour we were in there. I loved seeing some of the folks that I have met and being able to introduce Mimi to them, seeing some of the new products and talking about the new products and all that. But that last hour or so was kind of grueling, and we ended up making it a early retreat.
Well, it was kind of funny because we were trying to watch the panel, which seemed like it was going to be an interesting panel. I couldn't understand 90% of what was being said, and guys were filling in. There were some women there, but mostly men were filling in around us, and we just get up and walk away. We got up and walked to the back, and that's when I realized, oh, this place is really filled up. And we were sitting for maybe 10, 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes.
Probably
not very long.
Probably 15 minutes, yeah, I would guess.
Yeah, and then suddenly trying to move through the crowd was like being at the gun show that's in. People are walking down, and there's no center space, and so you're just bumping into everybody as you're trying to get to. Yeah, that's exactly the way it was.
So that's sort of the rundown on Guncon, which took almost 40 minutes. I want to open this up to all of you. If you've got questions, if you've got comments, if you've heard something about Guncon, if you want to know something about Guncon, this is your chance for any questions you might have. Throw them out there, and we'll do our best to answer them.
And I will say this. The layout was great. I think the organizations that were there, GOA, NRA, and what was the third one?
I think it was the Second Amendment Coalition.
Second Amendment, yeah. Second Amendment folks. They were in a separate room. That was nice to see them. Got a few free things to put on my weighted vest that I wear at CrossFit. Got some stickers. So it was cool, and all kinds of people were talking to Howard, and he was like, "Well, this is my wife and Mimi. Hi," and then go right back talking to him, which is fine.
Now, Mark Christensen talked to you.
I'm like, he was the only one, and then I talked to the first farm guys, and I was familiar with their stuff. Their CrossFit. I mean, their stuff I knew through CrossFit. Their nutrition stuff. So that was cool, but it was fun. It just, yes, they needed a bigger venue, and I think Rabbi said that if they made a good profit, they can afford a larger venue next year.
Yeah, hopefully so. And I hope they come back to Ohio, because there are a lot of very good places. I could come up with probably a dozen right off the top of my head, various fairgrounds and event centers and things like that would work very, very well. Just probably not in Cleveland. I would not recommend that. Not Cleveland, not Columbus, not downtown Akron. No place like that.
Well, probably not. Like once burned, twice shy. I mean, don't go back to Cleveland and run the risk of the same thing happening again. But there's lots of other venues, and I also think it's weird that they waited till those guys got there to then say they had to leave.
I get the sense somebody probably called somebody and said, "Hey, do you know who's going to be there?" And
I guess
went from there.
I mean, I don't think that building owner was looking up people.
No, I think somebody called
find
him.
out who was there. Let me see what they have in their social media. So, and that's unfortunate. I feel bad for him. Whatever his name is, drove a long way to get there and turned around and drove home, and posted on YouTube that same night. So anyway.
Mike Smith, it's too bad. If you would have seen us, definitely, if you ever run across us again, stop and say hi. I always appreciate that.
I'm the tall woman with short blonde hair.
Also come to Tennessee. I love Tennessee, especially Nashville. We go down there whenever we can, basically. Really enjoy Tennessee.
Mansfield is the High Point World headquarters?
Well, Mansfield is where the manufacturing facility is.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Mansfield is Mansfield's not the nicest city.
It's an up-and-coming area.
But there are other places. Medina would work well. The Medina Fairgrounds, they have a gun show there normally once a month. That would be fantastic. Like a lot of fairgrounds, a lot of, like I said, other types of venues that I think would work very, very well for that.
So when I was taking my stuff out, I saw the owner. He absolutely was strange. Yeah, probably. Or he was property manager. But I suspect he was the owner. I suspect the owner was there. What did Rabbi say? There was definitely a narc.
Yeah.
It could have been another content creator. I don't know. That guy is so likable, and he is so understated. I can't imagine it would be another content creator that would turn him in.
Nicholas Roberts could have come to Texas. Yeah, Texas would be a good place. Still counting his money.
Why didn't the other panel members walk out with them? They let their teammates down. That's a good point. We saw him in the green room, which, by the way, had like green velvet couches in there, which I thought was funny. We saw him in there, but that was well before the panel.
I was going to say, I wonder how many people even knew What happened?
Because they were going to have right. That's what I mean. Probably 90%. There were 3 panels they were having that day. One at 11, one at 1, and one at maybe 3 o'clock. The 11 o'clock kicked off late, and maybe it's because they had to revamp the panel. I don't know, or fill his spot. I don't know, but
Nicholas Roberts, thank you very much for being a new subscriber. I appreciate it greatly. I hope you continue to enjoy everything that we put up here. B. Evans, Mrs. Funk, what's your favorite handgun? Mrs. Funk.
See, your mom died, so I don't know. I don't know who they're talking about. I think my favorite is my Smith & Wesson Model 22, right? That's the Model 22, the 22.
22A, yeah.
So yeah, 22A.
Yeah. Let's see, battle rifles. Did not find out about the drama until 1 p.m. By the way, they shut down 2 hours early. And battle rifles, I believe, is Mark Christensen. Mark, if that's you, just confirm that. But I believe that's you out there.
Shut down 2 hours early. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. That had to get so hot and smelly and sticky and all the other words. And it's too bad because the vendors that were there did a great job. You know, they're saying the same thing over and over and over to what, 100, 200 people with the same energy that they tell the first person, you know, about their weapon or their scope or their whatever. So, you know, kudos to all of those folks who were there, and they had more space behind their table than we had in front of the table, for sure. And it was cool seeing some of the stuff. Some of the stuff, like, my eyes glaze over because a lot of it looks the same to me. And, you know, Howard would go, well, that's a such a da-da-da, and that's a da-da-da-da. Oh, okay. You know, good to know. But I appreciate that. I appreciate you enjoyed yourself so much, and I got to meet Mark and listen to the fascinating stories he was telling. And
yeah, Mark Mimi was in rapt attention with all of the various things you were talking about with the travels to South America and all the different stories about the different countries.
And dude, I was having the hardest time hearing you because of the fan that was this way up to my right, down the way a little bit. So I really had to focus. So I just want you to know how much I was focusing on what you were talking
about. Do you believe I managed to find a Uberti Model 73 carbine chambered .22 long rifle? My research tells me the Uberti discontinued in 1990s with a saddle ring plus the ladder sight. Very cool. Good for you. I'm glad you did.
Rabbi wants to know if there were any hot booth babes. And actually, there were not. They were all. I was a hot attendee babe. Did any of them have women at the table?
I do not remember any women there.
The Second Amendment table, there was a woman there. There may have been a woman across from where Mark was on one of the other tables, but that was it. So no.
There were a few women on range day, but I don't remember any of them actually working behind the tables for the various companies that were there. They were just there as attendees or guests or what have you.
Mark said the fan was his enemy. I bet, because you couldn't turn it down to lessen the noise to be able to hear people, and yeah. I mean, again, I would definitely go to that again. It was super cool, even with the people that were annoying me. Like, there are a lot of people who annoy me. I'm able to live life successfully. So,
vehicle warning, great question. In fact, I asked Mark that when we were out there on range day about the T48.
Fecal warning. Are you for real? Are you a grown person?
Anyway, the T-48 is, I guess, they're trying to get the wood in and get everything put together for it so it can start to ship. But it is going to be out there very soon, I believe. And Mark, feel free to correct me if I got that wrong.
He said first form had a woman and she went 3 for 3 offhand at 150 with a heavy FAL rifle. So she'd done that before.
Cool. You know what? I think I was standing there. I think I was there when she did that. Now that you say it.
Fecal warning, we're not answering any more of your questions until you change your name. Because nobody wants to say that anymore.
I just think it's funny that you're saying it.
That's the last time I'm saying it.
And we are caught up on the comments, which is kind of unusual. We got about 10 minutes left in the show. So any questions or anything that anyone's got left, be sure to throw that out there. But like I said, I think 75% of Guncon I really, really enjoyed. It was just that very end of the time we were there on Saturday where it got a little less enjoyable, I guess.
They did have plenty of coolers with water.
They did.
I will say that.
Good job with that on range day too. There were a lot of coolers around with bottles of water in. We were able to stay hydrated all day, so that was good. Man, everything stopped.
That's because I called out fecal warning.
Everybody's worried about putting their comments on there because they might not have a name you like.
Well, I mean, I've read all the comments. I can read everybody's names, and that's fine. But that one.
HR, did you see the Mac Tizosh just dropped their new MUSOC 1911? As a matter of fact, I got a text message about that. And I am hoping, keep your fingers crossed, everybody, that I can get one of those things in. That's something I've been negotiating back and forth with the folks at SDS for a couple of months now. So with a little bit of luck, you're going to see one of those on the channel in the very near future. Everyone is gun shy now. You scared everybody.
Well, sounds like y'all all needed to be scared.
Katie Cowboy, the O-Sight SE arrived today, mounted on my Smith & Wesson Shield Plus. Did you get a chance to shoot it yet? I think the O-Sight SE was a pretty decent optic. Personally, I like the rechargeable ones better because I can keep them recharged. But I think the O-Sight SE was a decent optic in its own right. Vehicle warnings, I'm in West Plains, Missouri.
You know, he or she, I live in, what?
West Plains, Missouri.
He said, I live in West Plains. Okay, I don't know what that means.
For $157, nice optic. Yeah, I agree. Rabbi, next time I'm about to stay the night and join the social activities, have a drink with Val and Mike. Yeah, it was nice for me because I was able to drive back and forth. I know there was a lot of get-togethers in the evenings. And a lot of people got to socialize, but I got to sleep in my own bed. So that was nice too. Nicholas Roberts, I have a Mac 1911 JSOC. It's been absolutely flawless, and I put it equal to my TRP operator. Yeah, I am really hoping to get one of those MUSOCs. I like the JSOC. I think that's a cool pistol too, but I am really keeping my fingers crossed to get one of those MUSOCs. Some folks don't realize it came from the city of Chicago closing beaches on... Wait a second. You lost me there. I'm not sure what came from the city of Chicago closing beaches on Lake Michigan. But this has been great so far. Thanks to everyone who has joined. We've got 46 people in here right now.
Rabbi, I read your comment. That's hilarious.
So fantastic. Thanks again to everyone who joined. Sorry that I did not have the Wednesday premiere video today, but this is what I was planning for this evening. I've got one video that is ready to go right now. I've got several more in the works. I've got a part 2 on the Bergara B14R coming soon. I've got a rifle optic video coming that I think you're really going to like. It's a brand new model that's just been released earlier this year. So that's going to be fantastic. Very high-end optic. What else do I have coming?
I would have no idea.
I'm drawing a blank now. But I've got a bunch of cool stuff coming up. My biggest problem right now is just getting the time to get out to the range and get everything recorded and get it finished in here when I'm doing the editing and all that. My time has been at a premium lately, which is why some of the videos that have come up here lately have been kind of abbreviated, or maybe you haven't seen a few of the things that I typically do. But hopefully things will get back to normal here before too long, and you'll be able to see the type of videos that I normally produce. Nicholas Roberts, Wyoming Gun Channel, has a excellent channel for 1911 content. Actually, he's the best. Oh, very cool. I don't know if I've ever watched any of his stuff. Rabbi, has Osight sent you any more optics? Yes, I had the Osight SE. In fact, I had a video review of that up that went live on Monday. So if you haven't seen that, go back and take a look at it. Ron Picard, hello to you. Yeah, I have just been very, very impressed with pretty much everything Osight has put out since they started to build the Osight just a little over a year ago. It just seems like they keep knocking it out of the park. The prices are good. They've got the lifetime warranty on the sight itself, and it's a, 2-year warranty, 5-year warranty, something like that on the electronic components. They have been working fantastically for me. The only thing I'm waiting for from Osight is a green version of the Osight S. S, right? The full size that's got the multi-reticle system. I would like to see that with the green illumination. They've got the green dot. They just don't have the full green reticle yet. And that's one that I'm really looking forward to. Bill Hunklebunkle? Impact Guns webpage has a 45 ACP Savage 1911 for $722 free shipping. Wow. Katie Cowboy, I find the reticle on the Osight S and SE to be very clear to my eyes. Yeah, and I think that's got something to do with the aspherical lenses. I think that also helps to clarify that reticle. And I think if they ever produce it in green, that's going to make it even that much better. Rabbi, I'm roughing my gear. I have to buy military-grade optics because of my buffoonery. Gary Higgins, you are very welcome. Yeah, I try to answer questions as best I can. So if you shoot me a question through my website or put a question on one of the videos, comment sections or whatever, I really try to make an effort to get an answer to those questions. Jeff, you have a great weekend too. All right, everyone, we are coming up to the end of the hour. In fact, we've got about 63 seconds left, so I'm going to start to wrap things up. I want to say thank you very, very much to all of you who have been here and been part of this tonight. I really appreciate your participation. I've said this many, many times. You are what make the YouTube experience for me, because without all of you and your questions and your comments and your support and all of that, I wouldn't be here, because I do not do this because I like working with YouTube. To my channel members, a special thank you to you for your monthly donation you make to the channel. Thank you very much. Rabbi, thank you for the contribution you made this evening.
And let me interrupt Howard and remind everybody that his birthday is Friday on July 4th. And he turns, how old?
24.
59. That's right. 59 for the old man. So wish him a happy birthday when you get a chance. Do you have a video dropping Saturday?
Maybe.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, if I can get it ready in time, there will be a video out on Saturday morning, but it's a little bit up in the air right now. So, thanks again to everyone. Any last things you want to throw out?
Nope.
To anybody?
Thanks for letting me join y'all on a live.
All right. Have a great evening, everyone. I'll hope to see you next time. Hopefully there'll be a video up on Saturday. And until next time, everyone, good shooting and bye-bye for now.